Welcome to Warhammer General Tactics. I'm the Twin Coot, and in this video I'm taking a look at a Seraphon army list.
General Tactics.
Hey everyone, I was asked to do a 1K list review, and actually I just attended a 1250 point tournament with my Seraphon, so I figured I'd just make a list review, turn review for a change of pace. I normally play 2000 points of Age of Sigmar, so the much smaller points made me want to rethink my army, but I went with my normal Seraphon tactics. So this is kind of like the 2K list review I did a little while ago with Seraphon, but will be more real-world application. And I apologize to people who complained last video about spamming Razordons was not feasible money-wise. I hear you, but I converted a ton of cold ones for cheap and encourage you to do the same. I try not to let GW's sometimes ridiculous price tags keep me from taking something I wanted. Anyway, the list is fairly simple. 1 Slan Starmaster, 1 Astaroth Bearer, 2 Skink Star Priests, 2 units of 20 Skinks, Chronomatic Cogs, Balewind Vortex, and 2 units of 4 Razordons. My strategy is pretty obvious. Summon. I had points left over with the bare minimum units I wanted, so I decided a large screen was important, so I invested the final points in more Skink bodies for 20 model units. I'm really glad that I did, because those 20-man units were slippery to kill. The Slan is the general and has great Remember for double teleport, and the Gurfeather for added durability. For those that don't know, the Gurfeather is -1 to hit and +1 to move. Extremely good. When the Slan was on this Balewind and supported by the Cogs, Look Out Sir, and Cover, the model was -2 to hit in shooting and had a 2+ rerollable save. This made the Slan almost invincible to conventional shooting. Instead of rehashing the tactics I really go into greater detail in my previous videos, I have linked in the video description. I just wanted to tell you all what I did in these games. One thing to note, the way the tournament was scored that was slightly weird I thought, was that there were secondaries, and they were great, but they didn't help for the game, but they did help with the tournament placement. So you got 8 points for winning the battle plan, but had the opportunity to gain up to 4 points per mission that matter with ranking in the tournament. Another note to remember is we were playing on 4x4 boards. I also want to apologize for not getting enough pictures to really describe what's going on. I just tend to forget throughout the day as I get more and more focused on the games. Anyway, Game 1 was against my normal opponent, Flesh Eater Courts. We were dummies and forgot to put the same club so we wouldn't get paired up, but alas, it wasn't meant to be. He brings a Gristlegore Court list with the Ghoul King on Zombie Dragon, Archregent, and for battle line he took a Royal Terrorgeist and a unit of 30 ghouls. The battle plan was a bit odd. It faces off diagonally with the objectives between our territory lines. It said our battle line units could be set up within 9 inches of the enemy territory, but Behemoth and Artillery had to be set up 24 inches or more from enemy territory. This meant his Royal Terrorgeist could be set up as close as 18 inches away from me. Knowing this, and knowing where he was going to place his army, made me decide to put the Skinks a bit further back from the front line. I knew where he was placing because I had so many more units than him. Now, we got to choose our secondaries, so I chose King of the Hill, which forced me to have 2 units wholly within 6 inches of the center of the board, and I chose Kingslayer on the Ghoul King on Zombie Dragon, which just meant I got points for dealing damage to that model. I left Skinks in the middle, a few inches back, and covering one of my flanks. 4 characters behind them, sandwiched between my Razordons, who were forced to deploy 24 inches away. First turn he moved up, and that was about it. I managed to unbind his run and charge spell, so the Terrorgeist couldn't quite make it to my front lines. My first turn was a bit more destructive. I teleported one of the Razordon units right behind my Skinks and summoned one more Razordon alongside them that managed to just barely take down the Royal Terrorgeist. I used Lords of Space and Time to teleport a unit on the far objective, and now had my Skinks on the other 2. I had to also summon a unit of skink handlers for no reason other than to dump something else in the middle so I could grab King of the Hill first turn. I didn't read the stipulation that said the unit had to be multi-model, and my unit of 4 Razordons was much too big to fit in there with 20 skinks in the middle as well. I got the double turn, which was pretty bad for him. I summoned more Razordons and took down the ghouls. He did, however, turn around with his Archregent and Vargulf and slap down just about all my skinks. Only left 4 alive as they ran away. The Ghoul King on Zombie Dragon jumped over a building, slammed into my Razordon unit that was stuck a bit behind. It did a number on them, but left 1 alive. The initiative roll went in his favor this time, and he got a fairly solid consecutive turn that finished that Razordon unit, and saw the Vargulf make a beeline for the slan. And sadly, the Vargulf jumped to the top of that Balewind and tore up the poor Star Master. I almost never lose my slan, but he died hard that day. Makes me wonder if incandescent rectrices are the better artifact choice here. Anyway, while it was a valiant effort for the honorable Grand Court, the remaining Razordons surrounded the Zombie Dragon and shot it to pieces. The Archregent and Vargulf could have killed a lot of what I had on the board, but we called it there as the Seraphon were far too ahead of my mission points. Game 2 was against another friend, but one that I had not had a chance to play yet. His army was Stormcast Eternals. He brought a heavily shooting list consisting of 2 Lord Celestants on Dracoth, 1 Lord Ordinator, 1 Lord Castellan, 2 units of 5 Judicators, 2 Cellstar Ballista, and 1 unit of 3 Aetherwings. I kind of lucked out for this one, as the realm for this game was Olgu, and the ranges were limited to 12 inches. Some people were kind of put off by that, but I actually really like that idea, provided you tell everyone ahead of the tournament you're going to do it. Let's face it, shooting is more powerful than combat. Love it or hate it, it's how the game has evolved. When the tournament player knows 1 or 2 of their games will have their shooting ranges limited, it makes the player think twice if they want to go all shooting. I think 18 inches limitation is sufficient, and 12 inches is maybe a bit harsh, but whatever, I didn't run it. The battle plan we got was another interesting one. We each had 3 objectives in our territory, and to gain points you had to stand on the objective and destroy it. If you held it for 1 turn and burned it, you got 1 point, and if you held it longer, you'd get more points. For secondary missions, I decided to choose Headhunter to kill 2 characters and Kingslayer to kill one of his Dracoth heroes. Honestly, probably the worst choices I could have made. Without being too worried about long-range shooting, I stuck my skink cell on the front lines and covered my objectives with quite a few models. He was putting a lot of models in reserves, so I was careful to screen out all my corners with my skinks so he could not deploy units behind me. In any case, he had more units than me somehow, so I finally got to pick who goes first. Me. I spent my first turn teleporting one of my skink star priests up onto his objective and burning it. While it only got me 1 point, it basically forced him to come to me now, as I had more objectives on my side of the board. I skipped summoning as there really wasn't much to do, and I wasn't going to get to shoot anything anyway. Passed my turn. His turn was a bit scary. He dropped down his 2 ballistas and one of the Judicator units right in front of me, alongside the Dracoth heroes charging down the field. Because of the 12-inch limitation, and because I didn't put my important stuff directly behind my screen, he was unable to shoot anything but the screen. He did, and dealt some damage, but it was just skinks. He tried to charge with the Dracoth, but I got lucky and he failed. I got the top of the next turn and decided I wanted to kill those damn heroes in my face and earn my Headhunter and Kingslayer. I summoned some additional Razordons and started firing on the Dracoth Castellans. I did nothing. Everything was bouncing off because he had a 1-up or a 2-up and their rerollable saves. So basically, I did no damage, but I did, however, move my skinks so they'd push back the characters. I ended one of the skink units' move, just outside of 3 inches of the Dracoth, so it couldn't move any further forward. In his turn, he shot almost all those skinks dead, but it was already too late, as he had already passed his movement phase. The Dracoth still got into some juicy Razordons, and I suddenly remembered, don't attack Lord Celestants with shields. When they reroll their ones to save successfully, they deal mortal wounds to units around them, and now there were 2 of these bad boys in my face. So, while you can't choose not to attack, you can choose not to pile in, so I got only a few attacks in. Also, with the Astaroth Bearer, it says you can reroll to hit rolls, so I did not. In any case, I did no damage, and only dealt a couple mortal wounds back to myself, which was the best I could have asked for. The next battle round, I won the initiative roll and got the top of the turn. I had a plan. I wanted to go take one of his further objectives, but he had one completely sealed off from reserves and another claimed by 5 Judicators. Meaning I would need more than 5 of something to grab that objective and burn it. So, I summoned Saurus fucking warriors to do the job. Just put them behind my lines because I couldn't summon them anywhere near the objective, so I'd move them up next turn. Anyway, I basically just ran from the Dracoths and shot other things. My 2 units of Razordons were either heavily damaged now, or just retreated from the Dracoths, so they couldn't shoot anything. In his turn, he basically did the same thing as last turn. Got stuck on my line again. Battle round 4, I used Lords of Space and Time on the Saurus Warriors. I used it twice on the unit and managed to get a 6, meaning I moved the unit after teleporting. I teleported near the opponent's middle objective, which was now guarded by some Aether Wings, and moved up to claim it. I was now holding 4 of the 6 objectives, and I already burned one before. So, I worked out the math ahead of time. Even if he burned his objective on the last turn, meaning he held it the whole game, he wouldn't be able to match my score if I burned everything now. So, I did. We played out the rest of the game, but honestly it wasn't fairly eventful. The Dracoth Celestants chased my army around, as it used LOSAT to GTFO. Game 3 was against a Sylvaneth player, which I have not played in quite a while. His army was a Branch Witch, Branch Wraith, Tree Lord Ancient, 2 units of 10 Druids, 1 unit of Tree Revenants, a unit of Kurnoth Hunters, and a Gnarl Root Wargrove. He also included 3 endless spells, the Geminids of Ulgish, the Prismatic Palisade, and the Quicksilver Swords. The battle plan had 3 objectives in between our territories, and each battle round one would become the primary objective, scoring the player holding it more points. He had a battalion, so of course he had less drops than I did, and decided who went first. I basically just deployed on my front line, with the skinks taking up almost the whole frontage of my deployment. I made sure not to leave any room for him to deploy a forest on me, as I was pretty worried about those things moving his models around. Only dinosaurs get to teleport. My secondary missions were Headhunter and Reaper. Kill 2 heroes and kill 40 models. He chose to go first and was actually unable to find space for any additional Wildwoods, so he really only had the 2 he started with on the field. This was a big deal because my Razordons couldn't shoot through those things. Because the Slan unbinds with unlimited range, and I had 2 more wizards on the front lines, I was able to shut down a lot of his spells. It also helped I rolled fairly well on the unbinds. He barely was able to get off his endless spells during the game, so that was kind of a few wasted points. Even the Geminids that actually did go off earlier in the game, but I never bothered to dispel. He kept getting the roll to go first, so he kept giving me his Geminids. This is one reason I really don't like predatory spells, and they have to be used with a real clear purpose in mind. Though, to be fair, they are also cool ways to fill extra points. So, I don't know what this dude's collection is, so I don't want to sound like I'm knocking his list. I'm not. In any case, he moved up his models, and I followed up by shooting the hell out of his infantry on those front lines, and grabbing all 3 objectives, setting me quite a few points ahead. In the next turn, he won the initiative roll, and hit my screen units with his Kurnoth Hunters and Druids. I also forgot that the Tree Revenants could teleport on the table edge, and they got behind my Slan. Though I was fairly sure he was going to survive the charge, they didn't make it anyway. In my next turn, I just cleared the rest of his infantry models with Volley of Spikes. leaving just his Tree Lord and Branch Ladies. He fought valiantly against my entire army, and took the shooting of the 13 Razordons I had summoned to get down to 1 wound. I had to still charge him to finish him off. That Tree Lord was pretty frickin' durable. In any case, he conceded at that point, and that was that. So, weirdly enough, I got technically second in terms of battle points, even with my 3 wins. It was a great tournament, and I was happy to attend an AOS event, as it's been a while. I would have liked a chance to face off against the winning Nighthaunt player, but them's the rules. In the end, I am really happy with how the Seraphon performed. I think they are a really solid army, and I wonder why more events don't have them win. If you're interested, please check out my other Seraphon and AOS content for more tactical videos, and please like and subscribe to the channel. Let me know in the comments what you thought of this video, as I haven't really done a tournament report, and I don't know what you all are interested or not. Leave your suggestions, thoughts, and questions in the comments below, and thanks for watching.